#1 on the Billboard charts. Please welcome back Mariah Carey.
I'm all right.
Beautiful.
It's morning. So we gotta take it easy.
It's all about a little exposure, right?
Well, it's just a lot of fabric, so I'm just trying not to have my heel, you know, cause any problems.
I want to ask you about, we were talking about American Idol and finding out about the past of some of these contestants and whether it's important or not. What do you think?
The past?
Yeah, like one had a was found guilty of drug possession, another, or charged with it anyhow, another one.
Oh, they're getting that deep into these people?
Yeah.
The
show stands behind them, obviously. They said, look, they admitted all of this, they got help, they're better, or they did their time, whatever it is.
Oh, see, I don't really watch the show. It's a strange thing for me because when the show first started, Randy Jackson,
of course,
who's been, you know, he's known me since I was a teenager, since before I put my first album out. He was there in the studio in San Francisco, so we go way back. So that's why he always, you know, references me, because he's been my musical director for a really long time. So I'm like, it's Randy. Now he's this big superstar, and it's so weird to me. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're mobbing Randy? Like, I don't get it. But, you know, so he was telling me, oh, we're going to do this show, and you know, we think it's could take off. And then it becomes this huge thing, because I was out of the country, and then it's this huge thing, and everybody asked me about it, and I'm just like, I hope they're all doing well, you know, great for them. I'm glad I didn't have to go through that. You know, I came more from the studio musician, you know, singer, songwriter background thing.
That's because you can sing, Mariah. Okay. Really? Yeah. Not the same league.
No, but I mean, when you're an American Idol contestant or a superstar like you, you're under a lot of scrutiny. You've gone through a lot in recent years, so you must feel particularly happy about the success of this CD. It's not just selling, what was it, 400,000 in the first week?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty incredible. But that's a big comeback. There were a lot of people saying it was over for you.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people were very ready to write me off completely, and it's like, you know, I never write off, and I'm not trying to whatever, but there's certain people who I'm friends with who people have written off, and they've come back to have stellar years, and I've never, you know, written them off, even if it was my big moment and they were not having necessarily such a huge moment. They were never written off in my book, because you can't write off talent.
Right.
So it's like when people do that, it's just not the right energy, it's not the right thing, but yes, it does feel good, and I have to thank my fans because they've stuck with me, and thank God it's my biggest first week ever.
You started very young, Mariah, and you got married very young. You were a child, then you got married, then you became a big superstar so quickly. How did you handle all of that? That's really quick.
Darling, it was bleak.
And Tommy Mottola, your ex and everything, and it was not the most pleasant divorce, I presume? Are they ever? They're always nasty.
Well, the divorce wasn't that bad.
No, it was the marriage.
No, you know, we all go through stuff, and I hate to harp on it because it makes me look, you know, I don't want to look like the person that's bringing up the bad stuff, but it's a part of my life, and it's a huge chunk of my life. So in talking about myself and my experience, if I don't discuss it, it's like negating that whole chunk of my life.
So tell us.
Well, what do you want to know, darling?
What was the worst thing in the marriage, would you say? And then the best. We'll give
Honestly,
them a equal time.
Okay. The worst was the fact that the true person, you know, my true self was very stifled. And when you grow up as a free spirit, my mom was very creative. She allowed me a lot of freedom. I grew up kind of doing whatever I wanted, basically. Not in a bad way, but, you know, you can't stifle somebody forever. You have to allow them to shine through. Otherwise, either they're going to just be crushed beneath that, or, you know, they're going to leave. So, you know, it took a lot of courage for me to get to the point where I was able to leave because, like you said, I was so young when I got into the relationship. And again, he was wonderful in the beginning, but, you know, there's always that beginning, and then things happen and whatever, and I wish him the best. So, you know.
Well, that's a classy way of handling it.
Doing well, too.
Well, speaking of class, I know that the CD, The Emancipation of Mimi, Mimi is your nickname.
Yes.
And a lot of people were surprised to see that it wasn't called The Emancipation of Mariah Carey. Why did you decide to put Mimi in the title?
Well, there are a couple reasons. I was sequencing the album with L.A. Reid, who I worked really closely with on this record, and he's just an amazing music guy. He's great, and you know, it was a wonderful experience. But anyway, he heard somebody call me Mimi, and he was like, that so suits you. He's like, now that I know you aside from just like the industry he's like, I really get that fun side of you, and I like that. That would be cool to incorporate it in the title. And then, you know, I was thinking, what about the Emancipation of Mariah or Mariah Carey? But that name is sort of like, I don't even think of myself like, oh, I'm Mariah Carey. Like, who is that? Like, nobody calls me Mariah.
Yeah.
My mother calls me Mariah, and nobody else. Everybody else calls me MC or whatever. So, you know, I just thought it'd be something different.
It's such a great title, you know? I mean, if you could, you know, pass the picture. Did you guys see the picture on the front?
Yeah.
It's so amazing. I was staring at it yesterday, and I'm like, for 5 minutes.
There it is.
And I'm a girl. It's amazing. But,
You live on that island,
but I mean, do people call you Mimi? I mean, you might be stuck with that nickname, you know?
But you know,
do you mind? Do you want that?
The thing is, it was a nickname that only a few people had who were really close to me, and they're like, thank you so much, now you've ruined that one for us. And I'm like, oh no, I didn't mean to. But it's okay, I have a lot of nicknames. It could have been the emancipation of a number of names. But
So now wait, I wanted to get back to the music for just a little bit, because I know that you write all of your own music, and a lot of people don't know that. I mean, all of her songs she does herself, and I also know that it annoys you a little bit when people are surprised that, you know, you, a woman, write your own songs.
Right. I think that has a lot to do with, if my whole image were like, you know, people can understand that Alicia Keys, you know, writes because she's got the piano in front of her most of the time, and that's her, you know, thing, and people relate one thing to another, or if they see like Melissa Etheridge with the guitar, you know, it's like people get it, but they see me being very diva or whatever, and they're like, oh, that's all she does, but really the writing to me is, you know, more than half of what I do, so.
Yeah, and there's some of the most beautiful lyrics, so.
Thank you.
Did you write the music and the lyrics?
Yeah, I write the melodies and the lyrics.
And now I hear that you're going to be writing children's books, too?
We're working on a concept for a children's book for biracial kids. It was something that somebody brought to me, and I thought it was something necessary. We've talked about that before.
Right.
And so hopefully that'll be getting
So will
this
you
year.
incorporate some of your own personal experiences growing up?
Yeah. Yeah, the woman who brought it to me is also biracial, and she's got kids, too, and they're going through stuff we went through.
And that's a great thing for kids who could be experiencing the same thing. So, Well, we want to hear the kind of writing that turns to song, because when we come back, Mariah Carey is singing her latest hit. We'll be right back.